Ever since the release of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet 3 years ago, people have been non-stop complaining about how the game runs. And granted, there were a couple of hiccups here and there in the beginning, but they patched those out for the most part. However, the other camp of people that were not just hating to hate were under the impression that the game wasn't the issue, but the console. So, with the release of the Switch 2, I wanted to put that theory to the test. So today, I am going to go to all of the areas in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet that are notorious to run laggy or drop frames, and finally put the rumor that the game was quote-unquote rushed or just poorly made to rest once and for all. Now, right off the bat, I think it's pretty clear that this game looks a lot crispier, literally just like standing still. Everything just looks so much sharper, more HD, and not pixelated. However, I was looking back on some of my VODs from when this game first released, and besides my setup also being crunchy, one of the areas that I noticed looked a little bit rough was here by the Team Star Fairy base. And I think it had something to do with the fact that there is a ton of flowers as well as a ton of different Pokemon spawning. Lord almighty, look at all of those Golducks and Weasels, hello? But as you can see, this area looks like a brand new game. Everything looks so smooth and so crisp, and you can literally see each individual flower if you zoom in. Like, I didn't even realize that these flowers actually had like the little center part where the little seeds are. Other times that I noticed, especially here, that the game looked a little bit pixelated was when you ran. And as you can see now on the Switch 2, there is literally like no frame drops, there's no lagging, there's no pixels or anything, even running through— oh, okay, hold on. Please kindly move out of the way, Florges. As I was saying, even when you run through the flowers, nothing looks like it's pixelated. There is literally 0 frames being dropped right now, and I can still see each individual flower, each individual blade of grass. I can't see these tiny itty-bitty Pokemon, but that's besides the point. Moving on to our next area that is notorious for looking a little crunchy, we're gonna pay a visit to Castle Royale Lake. Now that we're here, first of all, look at how beautiful everything looks. To me, personally, this looks like a whole new game. Everything just looks so much crisper. Even the colors feel more saturated than when I was playing them on my Switch OLED, since one of my main complaints was that the color palette in this game was rather drab, especially in comparison to Sword and Shield, which is my favorite game on the Nintendo Switch. However, of course, most people don't really care about the color palette of this game. They care about how the game runs in the water. So let's pay a visit to the water. And like you just saw, I was gliding, not a single frame dropped. And look at how smooth everything runs in the water now. Now, this was one of my least favorite areas to actually play in the game, since even me, myself, obviously I am a fan of this game. Even I experienced like frame drops or even like lag just going through the water, and I kind of avoided going in water when I didn't have to, unless I was like picking up these feathers here. But even like these slow pokes over here look so good. Look at bro just chilling, vibing. And like I said, we haven't like stuttered once or anything. This is like a huge upgrade, especially if you compare it to what it used to look like when you would swim through the water previously. And like I said, I had a Switch OLED, so I had like the latest model, so it's not like I was playing on like ancient artifact Switch 1. I was playing on like the most up-to-date technology at the time. Now, an area that I'm sure most people are interested in seeing is how the game runs in Tagtree Thicket. I mean Tagtree Thicket. Let's go take a visit. So this area was obviously never the problem. Whoa, bro was zooming. See what I mean? Everything is running so, like, that looked so fast. I feel like that did not look like that on the previous Switch, but here we are entering Tagtree Thicket, or as everybody has so lovingly nicknamed it, Tagtree Thicket, and you can see all of these little, what are these called? Graphite eyes. You can see all the graphite eyes running around. There's no frame drops in here either. I'm even gonna go into the grass where, like, before everything would be kind of pixelated, then you would basically be like running in a field of pixels instead of grass. Why is there so many small Pokemon? Please move. even like the actual texture of all these plants, like granted, like they're not like super detailed, but like I'm not over here gonna be staring at leaves all day, but even like the textures look so much like smoother. Like you can literally see the light glistening off of these plants, whereas before I feel like I would have not noticed that. And like I said, even when you're gliding or flying, no frames are being dropped, whereas before you would see that the game would get really pixely when you would do anything that required like a lot of movement, like the sprinting through the grass or like the gliding, the flying, anything like that. Even like our jumping looks so smooth. Look at this. Parkour. Now the last area that I think I myself and most other people had issues was over in Fury Falls, where all of the bamboo trees are. Just because it was a lot with all of these bamboo trees, but this actually looks beautiful. Hold on. I have a new appreciation for this area now because this looks nice. Before, everything kind of looked like Minecraft a little bit, but like, this looks nice. Hold on. This is so pretty now. Everything looks so much better. Even like these Tera Pokemon look so much like everything just looks like it got like a huge upgrade. And I know like this is obviously like not anything revolutionary. Like it's 60 SPF. It's 60 FPS, which is like normal. However, the previous Switch model wasn't able to keep up with this type of like quality, and now we literally are playing this game the way that it should have been running originally. So technically speaking, it seems like Scarlet and Violet was just kind of ahead of its time for the actual hardware that it was running on. Because once again, we haven't dropped a singular frame since we've been in here, whereas before it was definitely a little crunchy in here. This was another area that I did not enjoy being in. Now, the last thing that I did want to test out is how everything looks during a Tera raid, which technically I did already show footage of that since I did show how to solo the current 7-star raid. But just so you can see this like live and in person with me right now, hello Diglett, what are you doing? I'm gonna go to this normal raid here, and we're gonna go ahead and see how it runs in there, since before the raids were obviously very notorious for being very, very laggy at times, especially when you would terastalize, which is another thing that I wanted to see, because whenever I would Tera previously, that is when I would get a lot of pixelation. So let's go in here. Now look at this. See, right here at this point before, that is when you would see a lot of pixelation. When you have like all of the bright colors and all of like the little like glitter or sparkles that you get when you are terastalizing. Even like the background is so much smoother and clearer. Like I can literally see like the Pokemon's reflection everywhere, whereas before it was definitely a lot blurrier. I'm gonna Mystical Fire because I don't want to like knock it out. I'm level 100. This might knock it out. Oh no. Oh, that did so much. Okay. I think I need to go to a higher level raid so that I can terastalize. Or you know what? You know how I can that was also another thing. As you saw, all of the little sparkles, glitter, none of that was pixelated either. Which, like I said, usually when things like that happen, it does not look like that. Okay, let me get out of this raid, and I'm actually going to just go find a wild Pokemon to terastalize on and bully, so that we can see what it looks like when we actually terastalize. But that's looking so nice. Whenever the Zangoose was attacking, all of the glitter, like you could literally see each individual like little star. I'm not catching you, sir. I'm so sorry. You're kind of worthless to me. Thanks for all of the items, I guess. I am Pokebroke. Okay, let's find a poor, sweet, innocent Pokemon to bully with my terastalization. Oh no, why did it have to be a cute one? All right, come here. Come here. I am so sorry. You are adorable, and I love you. However, I have to flex on you real quick. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and terastalize, and I'm gonna use Drain Punch, whatever. Okay, let's see how this looks. Once again, you can see literally every individual, like, star, which is crazy. And that looks so much better, especially, like, when it, like, explodes into, like, stars. Now that looks like some HD terastalization. And just so you can see a comparison of what this game used to look like, so this is back from 2022, you can tell by my horrendous makeup. but this was a video that I made on where to get all of like the items that you need in order to EV train your Pokemon. And even like looking at the map, just look at how much like blurrier and less like crisp and clean even the map look and the game. As you can see, there's a huge difference, especially in the environment. The grass is not as crisp. You can't really see like each individual like blade of grass, but like you can on the Switch 2. And even like the little like glint items are very like blurry. And of course, like I said, even in the lake, the water looks a lot choppier. You can't really like see as much detail as you can currently on the Switch 2. Like even like the trees back there just kind of look very, like I said, like Minecraft trees. And like there's just like such a huge difference between how this game looks now on the Switch 2 versus what it used to look like. And just as a more like recent example of what this game looks like, this was literally a live stream of mine from last week. So this is like no like recency bias or anything. Like this is what the game looked like literally like a couple of days ago. Let me fast forward to the actual battle and add a team preview. So as you can see, like the entire game as a whole just looks a lot more crisp and clean. And this part especially, look at how different the actual like terrestrialization looks. Look at how like pixelated and blurry this is on the Switch OLED versus what we just saw on the Switch 2. You cannot deny that what we have currently on the Switch 2 is not a huge upgrade from what we've been playing for the past 3 years, which just goes to show that everybody that was saying that this game was like rushed or like sloppily done, it was literally doing the best that it could on the hardware that they had at the time, because obviously the Switch 2 hadn't released yet. So it seems like it wasn't the game that was the issue, it was quite literally the hardware. And this game was just a little ahead of its time. Like this was a very like lofty project for Game Freak to come out with, because not only do you have like a linear Pokemon game, you have a brand new gimmick that obviously is very taxing on the hardware, and also like 3 different storylines, as well as now over 1,000 Pokemon. So like for what they were working with, the game it did the best that it could. And now that we have a more powerful console, we can actually see what it was supposed to look like had it been released, 3 years later when the hardware was better. Which honestly makes me way more excited for ZA coming out in a couple of months, because it's going to look amazing. So obviously I see a huge improvement between how the game looked on the previous console versus the Switch 2. But let me know what you guys think, and leave those thoughts down below in the comments. Whether you want to call me a quack or whether you agree with me, I don't care. Just yap down there. But that's gonna go ahead and wrap it up for today's video. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful, and maybe it helped you make an informed decision on whether or not you think the Switch 2 is worth it or not, especially with ZA coming out soon, and of course any other games that you would like to play on the Switch 2 as well, like Mario Kart, which is also a very fun game. But if you did find this video helpful, I kindly suggest that you consider subscribing so that I can continue to make content for you guys. And if you are already subscribed and you would like another way to support the channel, feel free to check out the merch store. There is a link down below in the description that takes you to not only my merch store, but also all of my other socials so you can keep up with what I'm doing on a daily basis. But thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to those of you who have joined the channel as members. I appreciate you all so much. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.